The mind plays some sneaky little tricks. It'll be like, you're stupid. You can't learn anything. You don't have any more space. You're too busy. And so I've come up with a list of all of the reasons your brain will trick you, as the trick is not real, into thinking that je zit niet slim genoeg om een nieuwe taal te leren. And it's not true. Je zit slim genoeg. Você é inteligente pra caramba. T'es hyper intelligent. And you know what? Ain't nobody got time for these silly reasons. But I'm gonna break them down anyways. Because if you feel like you relate to one of these, you're in the right place. And we're gonna nip it in the bud. Cut it from the root. Get that. Da raiz, cara. Cue the intro, sis.
You know she's not your average Joe. Not your average Joe. She's not your average Joe.
What's up? It's me, Joe, your language-loving friend. Ik ben hier in België, like I have been since July. Something crazy has happened to me over the last week. Literally this week. I have been studying Dutch for 1 year, for 1 jaar. Okay? This week, for some weird reason, everybody's just speaking to me in Dutch. Iedereen. Ik kan alles doen in het Nederlands. And I'm like, wait, what? I walk into a store and they're like, goedenavond, heb je een klanskaart? And I'm like, ja, ik heb een klanskaart, maar niet bij. I'm having the full exchange. Like, I'm doing the whole thing in Dutch. And I'm like, hoe is het gebeurd? And I literally didn't understand why it took me, it didn't take me long. It took me 6 active months of studying Dutch and really getting my teeth in it to learn it. But then I wanted to make this video because I had some breakdowns learning this language. I am still in the middle of having breakdowns learning this language because it's really freaking complicated. It's ingewikkeld, jong. And when you learn a bunch of languages, the truth is that it never gets easier, but it kind of does. It's a weird twist. I've talked about this in other videos. The only thing that gets easier is that you know you've done it. But when I was literally on the ground of my house, being like, I can't learn this language. I'll never put the verb in the right place. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, okay, ik weet waar alles moet gaan. The brain is crazy. But then I sat down and I came up with all the reasons why I couldn't learn Dutch and why you maybe cannot learn the language that you're trying to learn. And don't worry, this is going to be a motivational video, but I want to make sure that you feel seen because even though eu falo português, francês, italiano, espanhol, hellénica, I learn all of these languages and I still feel like I cannot learn language. So you're not alone. By the way, it's 3 p.m. here in Belgium and it literally looks like it's 7 p.m. Wat doe ik hier? It's verliefd. Also, funny story. So my partner is Belgian and I told him day 2 that we met. He was like, hey, I want to get to know you, girl. He didn't say it like that. He was like, hello. I think that there could be something very serious here. Very Northern European of him. And I'm like, yeah, but I really don't want to learn your language. I straight up told the man to his face I didn't want to date him because I didn't want to learn his language, and now I love it. And that's just a testament to keeping your mind open and your heart even wider. What is happening with my accent? The minute I start speaking a bunch of languages, weird stuff happens. It becomes crazy clock. So if I sound crazy, that's okay. Het gaat gebeuren. Why you can't learn a language, notes in my phone. Number 1 reason why you can't learn a language is because it's freaking frustrating. As adults, we are wired to want to do things that we're good at. And when you say, I want to learn a language, you're literally signing up for failure. Mistake after mistake. You're signing up to look silly. You're signing up to look dumb. And you don't want to sound dumb because egocentrically speaking, you want to sound smart. And that's why it's so frustrating when you start learning a new language. And so your brain is going to be like, nope, you suck at this. You can't do it. It's just not for you. Then it begs me to believe the deeper reason is not frustration. It's actually fear. We fear sounding dumb because as tribal creatures, we want to be loved by the pack. And language is one of the main things that connects us to a group of people. And so the minute that you walk into a space, if you cannot speak the language, you're not going to be able to communicate with the rest of the group. And I know exactly how that feels because as a kid learning English, I walked into a room, I did not speak English, eu falava só português, ninguém me entendia, and then I was upset and I was scared and I was nervous because evolutionarily speaking, if you're left out of the tribe, you're going to get eaten by the tigers. So when you don't speak a language and you're in a group of people that speaks the language, maybe it triggers this primal fear that we're going to get eaten by the tigers, but there are no tigers. And you got translators, okay? We have tools and resources that can help us today that we didn't have back in the day. So you got frustration, you got fear, shame. Shame. Deeper than fear, frustration is shame. And this one is something that I struggled with actually relearning my moedertaal, my mother tongue, minha língua materna, português. So my story is a crazy one. I grew up speaking Portuguese until I was 5, about 6 years old. Moved to the States, and then I started speaking only English. My Portuguese started getting kind of buried, and it was buried deeply because when you're an immigrant kid, You are taught to assimilate. You're going to learn English. You're going to be as Americanized as possible for survival, back to the tribal mentality. So what happened, and maybe this happened to you too, and if it did happen to you, please comment below so I know I'm not alone. What happened was I began feeling shame when I tried to speak Portuguese, porque quando eu falava com família, eu tinha esse sotaquezinho americano. Eu era joaninha americanizada. I became Americanized. And my family in Brazil would make fun of me because they thought that it was so hilarious that I had gotten an American accent. Therefore, I was so ashamed of not being able to speak Portuguese that I rathered not speak it at all. So I became what's known as unilaterally bilingual for many years of my life. I would understand everything in Portuguese, but my shame prevented me from responding because I was so afraid of making mistakes in Portuguese that I responded in English. This is one of the most underrated conversations about bilingualism. I need to talk more about this because it wasn't until I was 20 years old, so from 6 years old until 20, didn't speak Portuguese at all, had no Brazilian friends, would basically respond to my family with sim and no on the phone, avoided talking to them as much as I possibly could, and the only time I would practice my Portuguese was once a year when my grandparents would come to the States for a month and we would have chats. So the only reason Portuguese didn't completely escape from my life was because of my grandparents who refused to learn English. And good on them, because if they had learned English, then I would have also spoken English with them, and that would have ruined my ability to keep Portuguese in my life. Cut to, I started a YouTube channel and I couldn't travel, which was the whole content that I was making was travel videos, and I was so broke I couldn't travel. So I'm like, you know what's the closest thing to travel without traveling? Languages. So then I started making Brazilian Portuguese videos, and it became this way of traveling and reconnecting to Brazilian culture. But the thing was, my Portuguese was so bad that the Brazilians would be like, cara, essa menina nem fala português, que coisa, que vergonha. But they were commenting in Portuguese, so even though they were talking smack, they were actually helping me learn more. So I learned how to read and write in Portuguese and speak again through making videos where people made fun of how bad my Portuguese was. So thank you for all of those bad comments. And then, of course, my Brazilian Portuguese got a lot better. I started editing those videos. I started seeing my mistakes, reading all those comments, and then all of a sudden, I had a huge audience in Brazil de povo que estava me apoiando, querendo saber como é que eu tinha aprendido inglês, pensando que eu era 100% brasileira, which is weird because I am 100% Brazilian, but I grew up in the States. Então, sou mais americana do que brasileira nesse ponto, mas tudo bem. Vou sempre ser uma mistura. All right, so another reason why you haven't learned a language is you got all of the emotional stuff, okay? But then we need to get into the tools. Most people don't know how to do a job, not because they don't know how, but because they don't know how to use the tools at their disposal. So one of the main tools that people don't take advantage of are tutors. And I love tutors because it customizes your learning. You meet somebody around the world who's passionate about their own language. I want to give a big shout out to today's sponsor because this tool has helped me in all of the languages that I practice, and it's always introduced me to really cool teachers that are around the world and connect me to the language. And I use Preply.com to find these tutors. You can sift through all different kinds of filters, like where are they from, what kind of accent do they have, the price point. You can read all of the reviews and you can watch a video and take a trial lesson to see if you jive with the person's personality. And Preply is supporting all of the new language learners out here. If you want to sign up for your trial lesson, you get 50% off and you can find your tutor, make a cool connection abroad, and get to speaking. The reason why most people don't learn a language is because they're stuck on the apps that are gamifying the process, when in reality, you must speak and you must consistently speak. I go between 30-minute lessons to 50-minute lessons. 30 minutes honestly checks the box for me because I'm able to squeeze it in almost like a work meeting. Also, you can ask your tutor to teach you in the ways that you learn. So if you know you need homework, let them know. If you know you want to learn about podcasts and music and TV shows, ask them for resources. It's so cool to be able to have this dialogue with someone who you wouldn't have met otherwise had you not embarked on this journey, and they're your cheerleaders. Which brings me to another reason why people aren't out here learning languages. They do not create a space for accountability for themselves. Think about all of the things that you have to do to keep a habit. It's so easy to fall off. Accountability is the difference between you putting those shoes and going to the gym or not. If you know somebody's at the gym waiting for you, you're going to show up because you respect their time, you respect them. When it comes to language learning, if you don't have accountability, whether it's with a tutor or a language friend, you're probably not going to stick to it. For instance, me making these YouTube videos and thinking about the fact that I have to post updates on Instagram, it makes me study. It makes me want to study because I'm like, oh yeah, people are going to be like, Joe, how's your Dutch? Eindelijk, hoe? It's nice to have a public process because it'll keep you accountable. I would like to briefly interrupt and remind you that if you haven't already snagged the free language learning toolkit, I've listed tons of resources, language learning prompts, goodies to keep you motivated on your process. It's free, it's dope, and it's gonna motivate you to learn more language. Now back to the reasons your brain is out here tricking you playing games. All right, we're drilling, going, flowing, vibing. Nog een reden. We're talking about another reason now. One of the things that I realized is that if I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it. I don't like fruits. It's just I'm not gonna eat fruits. I'm not gonna eat fruits. But this isn't about fruits. This is about finding the things that you really don't like and just not using them as resources. If you don't like grammar books, maybe you don't want to spend time on grammar books. But if you like interactive studying, you could sign up for a grammar class that has worksheets that are kind of like a book, but it's more contextualized for you. AKA, people are not having fun. They're not having fun. Like, het moet fun zijn. Het moet leuk zijn. Als het niet leuk is, gaat je niet studeren. It's just as simple as that. Another reason why you're probably not learning the language, and this is something that held me back for a few months until I literally stopped doing this maybe 3 weeks ago, which is when I've made the most progress, is I was not forcing myself to consume the language, consuming it. I wasn't reading the news every day. I wasn't listening to music every day. I was doing it every few days, maybe here, maybe there, like when I knew I had a Dutch class. And I didn't really create a daily habit of having Dutch in my mind, in my ears, in my eyeballs. So here are a few things that have changed the game for me. First of all, news apps. I love news. I was getting so depressed reading American news that I straight up was like, nope, right now I'm deleting my subscription to American news and I am only reading VRT news because that is what is happening here in Belgium. And it's crazy because I actually get the news, but I'm practicing Dutch every day and my vocab is getting lekker because of that, and I'm not as depressed. So that's always good news. It's me, Joe, again, cutting this video short. You know what? I'm editing it, and when it's a thick and juicy one, I'm like, I don't think people are gonna sit and watch the whole thing, and there's some good stuff in part 2. So stay tuned. Don't forget to hit subscribe to get notifications. I am going to be seeing you in the next video, and take some time, do your language learning. Don't be so hard on yourself. And if this video resonated, aka if it made you feel seen, and if it motivated you to learn more language, please send me a DM on Instagram at @jo_Franco. And I don't know why I'm standing like this, actively in a squat. What a beautiful time to be alive, where we could just like start speaking a new language and live a whole new life. Like, is that not why we learn language in the end, is to transform ourselves? It is a superhuman ability, and your brain knows that you can, but it tricks you because it's a lot of work, and it's like, y'all, let's just like sit on the couch and have a good time. But I'm cheering you on, so it sucks.
Hey, yo, come listen to my girl, man. What you doing?